Welcome to Culture of Paint. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at what's caught our eye over the last couple of weeks in the miniatures painting world. For our main segment, we're going to be taking a look at Golden Demon US, which has returned after a 10-year hiatus or whatever, what we've missed about it, and a few of the artists that we haven't seen around Golden Demon for a while. And then we'll close out the show as normal, taking a look at what the hashtag paint cultists have been up to. Our Culture of Paint is aimed at a mature audience, and we might use explicit language and discuss adult themes. Now let's talk about paint. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are. I'm Henry. Joining me, as usual, are Matt, Andy, and Rich. Hello, gents. How are you?
Ahoy!
Lovely stuff. We all well?
Mate.
Very well.
I'm very excited about tonight's episode. Partly because I feel like I'm going to be more of a passenger than normal, so it'd be nice.
Oh, I like your mug, pal.
Super duktig.
Well done.
That's for our Swedish
Well done.
listeners. Sadly, not full of caipirinha or whatever. Just water. Right. Brian is only here for the explicit language. Well, buckle up, Brian. You'll be fine. I'm going to drop a C-bomb quite this early. Where are we? Even got people in from the Netherlands, Canada, Texas. That's awesome. Well, thanks ever so much for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoy it. Right, let's crack on. What's been going on last couple of weeks? Let's get the first slide up.
So
Models.
It's starting to pick up again, isn't it, now? After that sort of lull around Christmas time. What we got? Are we in?
So, first up.
Yes. Is this my pick or did someone else pick it?
I think it's kind of a group pick.
Good.
I didn't pick it, mate.
So
I didn't pick it.
this is.
I did.
Oh, there we go. Good. I'm glad you. I said to Matt, I was like, oh, if someone hasn't picked it, you better stick it in there. We've featured this model a few times over the last few months. Obviously by Lucas Pina. I think it didn't it show up in our favourite sculpts of last year as well. I think if I'm right.
It did.
I think Roman Lapat's probably my favourite painter. Or I don't know, favourite painter. He's one of the hobbyists I always enjoy seeing what he does. Like the way he teaches this blog spot, what he produces. I just really enjoy it. Makes me happy. So yeah, I was stoked to see him do this amazing model. And the first one I've seen green, classic Goblin.
It's cool not to do them green these days.
I know, right? Was it GW who made up the green Goblins?
Nah, I don't think so. It would have been. So there's got to be a piece of like fantasy artwork from back in the day where they're green. There's got to be.
I don't know, man. Because you think like Lord of the Rings, they were always just sort of various shades of sort of browns and greys and
Maybe they pushed
palette
it
skin.
like bright green because they call them green skins, right? That's like
and that's their thing, right? Yeah.
I reckon. Go on.
I was going to say, I do vaguely remember recalling a White Dwarf article from like the 80s or something where they talk about we want them to be green.
Right.
I'll have to
It's
find
interesting. I'm going to make a note on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to find out now.
I mean, I'm not saying they invented it, obviously, but whether that's very much their thing now. So if you associate green orcs with GW, because what's the other one? Warcraft. They're not green in that, are they? Are they blue or something?
They're green in that.
Oh, they're green in that, are they? Mind you, Warcraft was Warhammer, wasn't it? So yeah.
I'm thinking maybe Dungeons and Dragons might have been someone that did it as well, or like Forbidden Realms or Awakened Realms? Some really old fantasy books.
Because D&D's not that much older than Warhammer, though, right? So that'd be interesting.
80s.
Yeah. Green Orcs, GW, question mark. Right, sorry, I didn't mean to derail that.
It's really good.
But and I love the shield. Love the shield.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of doing a similar thing on some gaming models, and it's really cool to see it. So yeah, lovely stuff.
Like Arcane.
That's on Netflix or something, right? Is it a game that's on Netflix? Is that right?
It's a like a cartoon animated series based on League of Legends characters.
Right, but someone said it's like visually, it's really good. Like it's
insane.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's one of the best looking animations I've ever seen.
And you don't have to know anything about League to understand it, which is great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
right. I'll stick it on tonight then. Lovely stuff. Right, 2 derailments. Sorry. What's
what we're all about?
Get back on the rails, pal.
What's up next, bud?
So next, This was my one.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a TIE fighter orc something. The guy has like, yeah, the guy has loads of like orky conversions on his account, and I follow him quite a lot. So I saw this and was like, yeah, I can like, what's like a orc Kylo Ren or something.
All the accounts, guys, will stick in the description so you can go give them a follow. That's rad. That reminds me a bit of was it Maxime did the Bumblebee? Yeah, the night Bumblebee, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't know why. Every now and then I have this urge to build the most random orc thing I can and paint it as well as possible.
Do it, mate. I can't remember getting back in the hobby, whatever it was, 10 years ago now, a little bit more. Forums were massive right at the time. So you had like Bolter and Chainsword, Warseer, Daka, right? And like the orcs were just so good. Like the imagination and the inventiveness. Because again, it was, we still had a lot of metal kits. Not everything was in plastic. There was a lot of kits that you couldn't buy. And like most people would give a bit of a moan about it. And like the orc guys were just like, nah, whatever, mate. Every release is an orc release. What are you on about? Like, and just it's
It's one of those factions that really allows you to express yourself, and it's really like cliche, but your limit is your imagination with orcs, because if you tried to do that with Space Marines and you cobbled it together and there was gaps and it wasn't smooth or anything, it wouldn't look right. But with orcs, it could literally be you can pour super glue into your bits box, shake it, and paint what comes out.
But also there is a difference though, isn't there? Like this, for example, like this is executed really nicely. Like there's still, you can still stand out within that crowd. Definitely. Speaking of, how's your orc or your grot tank coming on, Matt?
It's on pause at the moment because I moved on to my Adepticon entry, and I was like, there's only like X amount of days, so I might as well focus on the thing that will actually get done.
Very good. Very good. Lots of people fans of the shield in there. Darren saying Andy needs to paint some new Eldar. Yes, don't you worry about that. As we said, I think whenever they drop, whenever it is February, March, I'm not sure if they've said yet. There'll be plenty of space elf content. Don't worry about it. Oh, so Elliot's done a bit of research in the chat. Looks like green orcs originally came from the late 70s from Dungeons and Dragons, and obviously some Tolkien art had them as greens as well. So thanks, Elliot. That's wicked. Nice choice, Matt. That's it's very cool. Love a bit of crossover as well. Bit of IP crossover.
Speaking of the pointy ears.
Right. So we're gonna have a talk about it, aren't we? This is like an early taster, because I think we'll definitely. I'll say it now. We'll almost certainly do an entire show on the Eldar, I suspect, coming up. But GW have been drip feeding's not quite the right word, is it? But they've been slowly telling us some of the kits that are coming with the upcoming Eldar release, and it looks like they're going back and doing quite a few, as well as creating some new ones. And I feel like everything's generally been very well positively received. And then it feels like the Dark Reapers have split the community a little bit, which is good, right? It's all subjective, isn't it? But it's there's been the Savage Warhammer meme team have been it's been an easy week for them, right? This week
they've earned their pay this week. The Warhammer meme community. Yeah, definitely.
I love them. I think it's great.
This is it, right? Like I've seen just as many people big fans as I have people that aren't. I was trying to think to myself the other day when we last had a release that was like universally lauded as being like faultless, because it is such a subjective hobby, isn't it, right? And like I've thoroughly enjoyed watching some of the arguments about this stuff, like people saying, oh, they look silly or they look goofy and they don't look like the old ones did, and then people just show all the old ones and it's like, yes, they're literally like sculpt for sculpt. Like,
if you look at
they do look like the old ones,
right?
I was looking at the Jez Goodwin books, the Elder sketches, and
so
it's exactly that. Like, people love that. So it's
So what do you think it is then that's made these? Because I mean, it's the faces, right? Like everything else about them is pretty plain, really. Like they're nicely done. They've got the slightly beefier armor. They've got a decent wide stance. But it's the faces that have attracted the strong reactions, right?
Just swap them out for the elder heads, the guardian heads. Job done.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But I think it's tiny things make a difference, right? Because it's not inherently the design that makes, people are saying they're a little happy looking or whatever, a bit cute. And it's just like the size of the grill that makes a difference. Because you look at the one in the middle with the faceplate, and it's got the 3 lines instead of the thing, and it instantly looks great. So I think the thing is they go back to the original sketches, but the exact execution, like the size of the mouth, the size of the eyes, that all makes the difference.
Yeah, I wondered whether it was more the eyes than the mouth. Like they're very
small,
little triangular lenses, aren't they? They're less like a lens and more like a, don't really know how to describe it. Yeah, like just triangles. Have you got that bit of art I sent?
I do.
This one. So Andy sent me this the other day. And we're just sort of talking about faces, and I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Like, it's and I guess I'm personally, I'd have loved it if they'd gone this route with them, and more of a stylized skull. I mean, I know it's stylized. I would almost say it's caricatured as it is at the moment, but more of this stylized one, right? But I get it. They're a very true homage, aren't they, to the original ones? And it's always good to get a little bit of a little bit of
controversy,
friction and controversy, right? It's always,
but you never know what they'll be like in person, because a slightly different paint job or just seeing them in the hand, like you just don't know. But I never loved Dark Reapers,
right?
My least favorite aspect. I definitely wouldn't have painted the old ones. These I am going to paint. I do want to swap the heads, but I'm not annoyed or disappointed by it. I love the Guardian heads, and I want them to look more like a heavy Guardian.
Right.
And I think I'm going to paint like a skull motif on that separate faceplate.
Yeah.
Guardian. Yeah. But my favorite thing about Elder is that helmet design, like the normal Guardian. So I'd rather have them like that. So I'm like, brilliant. Can't wait. I can't wait to get my Guardian kit and my Dark Reaper kit.
I'm excited, man. Like there's the last time I really, really disliked it, and I don't dislike these at all. Like I'm not ambivalent. I like Elder. Elder are rad. Like I think Elder artwork's probably the most consistently fantastic artwork in GW if you go through all the ages. And the models are very iconic. Jez created something really quite cool, which could have been quite generic, right? Space elves, whatever. But he's created this, along with the sculptors, this amazing range. But when the Warbringer Titan came out, whenever it was, quite a few years ago now, the Forge World one, the newest Titan from Forge World with the big gun on its head, and the viewing platform and everything. Yeah. Like I irrationally disliked that model. Like I remember we were at our Christmas party at Incom, and I might have had a few eggnogs, and I was raging about it. And now I love it. Now I've just sold a bunch of stuff, so I can get one.
It's a grower, mate.
Yeah. So I'm wondering whether I'll feel similar about these. It's it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to seeing the community get hold of them. And just seeing the kits, because every single time I see this photo in particular with the 5 of them, I'm like, oh, it's actually a pretty cool squad, man. Like I get it. Like,
yeah, I want to see it in person. I want to see one of the models in person, what it looks like without any paint on it, and then I want to paint one myself, because and see a few different people that will paint these in different styles. Because it's obviously insanely clean what they've done there, but I don't think necessarily that paint scheme, like Andy said, don't necessarily think that lends to their intimidation factor. I think it just could be done differently. Like I love the guy with the shuriken cannon. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, so new weapons as well, right? That's pretty cool as well. But unlike Andy, I love Dark Reapers. Like they'd be in my top 3 aspects. Like I just think they're
Exactly
rad, and they've probably got the most metal of all of the Phoenix Lords. No pun intended. So most of the Phoenix Lords are still metal. But it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to. I'm genuinely looking forward to get my hands on this kit. I hope I don't end up wanting to do Eldar.
I'm doing. I've given
that
it.
ship sailed, Randy. It took all of what, a week?
The bottom right Dark Reaper with the triple barrel thing. That is my old color scheme for my homebrew craft world. They're all that color scheme. The Guardians, the Dire Avengers. So I'm not doing it again.
Reminds me of that scheme that years ago at Games Day they used to have these competitions. I don't even think it was. Now I think of it. I think it was an entry into Golden Demon, and the bloke had created his own Marine chapter, and it was these colours. And something happened with it where basically they ended up canonizing it and putting it into the lore, because I think maybe he won a bunch of things with it or something, or maybe there was a specific designer Space Marine chapter competition and he won it. But it was bone purple and black, and it just looked. Yeah,
I mean, that would be my dream if I could get one of my homebrew Space Marine chapters as official canon and lore.
Oh, I would hate it.
I would love it so much.
But that's probably enough. I say on the Eldar, we'll almost certainly have an episode on them. I think we're all fans. But again, just amazing to see. Not only are they getting new cool stuff, I'm loving that GW are going back and just readdressing some of the iconic core units in the armies we're seeing. I really hope that's the theme of this edition. We get sort of like the Orc Boys and the Eldar Guardians. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nice.
What's up next, Matt? This is my actual pick.
No face.
This is one of my favorite accounts. It's just horrible. A lot of their stuff. They've got a Kickstarter actually at the moment, which this model is from. Not affiliated to them in any way or anything like that. But yeah, I just love it. This kind of thing.
Spirited Away character, right?
That's exactly. It looks a lot like Spirited Away, right?
It's creepy.
Just great. Just perfection. I kind of want one sat on my desk.
I don't.
Just sat, love it. just love it. And I get, again, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but there is a certain group of hobbyists that this, I think, is.
This is actual grim dark.
This is what they're really digging.
Nice.
But yeah, a great account. If you like your weird, it's a really fantastic account to follow. So yeah, that was my pick. What's up?
Next up.
Yes. Very pretty.
I love this so much. It's amazing. There's another picture where it just looks like a real house because it's got the real sky behind it. It's just unbelievable. I love this account. I think it's got 500 followers or something silly, and it's like unbelievable, the standard. And he puts loads of whips up so it can help you learn how to do stuff. So one of my favorite accounts on Instagram. It's a must follow. I love that tree. It looks so realistic.
Tree's fantastic, isn't it?
And it's no war stuff. It's just a house on a hill, and I'm so into it. It's everything about it's great. But yeah, the best shots on there, they've taken them outside. So instead of that grey background, it's the real sky, and you can show it to people on the phone and be like, "Look at this," and it's just a house. And some miniature. So it's good for showing the normos. That's
great, man. I like those outdoor shots. Like
they're cool, right?
You can, and I think it works. I mean, this doesn't look particularly large scale, but like sometimes on my Facebook feed, I'll get those videos, of someone recreating a train station or a truck or whatever that's slightly larger, like the stuff Rich digs, and they take those shots outside, and it's like, but I guess that's what they do in films, right? I guess that's how they use miniatures and stuff in films. But yeah, I'd like to live in that cottage, absolutely.
I know.
Right up my street, that one.
Yeah, you got to check that account out. It's great.
Yeah, nice one. And so we've got one more. Is that right?
We do. So this is Rich's one to explain.
Yeah, so it's one pick, but rather than pick a specific model, I've picked an actual account this week.
Right.
So MP Miniatures, the chap's name escapes me.
It's literally there.
Yeah, I know, my phone's real. Manel,
Right,
sorry,
right.
Manel. It's chatted to the other day, big fan of the podcast. So, when you just flick in and you just flick in and something pops up and you go, oh, that's cool, and you check out an account. And then you spend a good 15, 20 minutes just looking through the account going, oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, that's a cool idea. And it just brings you quite a lot of joy. This is exactly what happened when I was at work the other day on my lunch break. I was flicking, as you do. And
That's cool, mate.
Hey?
Death scrolling.
Yes, death scrolling. But yeah, I just spent quite a bit of time on this. I've been and saw quite a few bits. You can scroll through, Matt, because there's just a couple of really neat photos of some of his miniatures that he's painted. I just thought it was really fun. I really like the way he paints. I'm into a lot of kill team and stuff at the moment, so there's a few bits in there this week. That sort of centric warband style stuff like Necro as well. So yeah, that's why it was my pick. I just thought it was rad, and I spent 20 minutes looking at his account thinking, oh, that's cool.
That's cool. That is cool.
Don't turn your indecision and butterflying into the picks of the week where you just start picking accounts. All right. Pick a cool model and we'll all go follow the account. All right, but that is great.
Explanation.
That is great, and I like it. It's really cool. That's right up my street. That style of painting, I enjoy that a lot. Yeah, and I know you do. Yeah,
like we spoke about as well with the background.
Oh yeah, there he is out in the garden.
Yeah, doing a bit of cutting his grass.
Yeah, good man.
Lovely chaos with the petunias and all that.
Yeah. It's like true psychopath stuff, right? Like he'd have a perfectly manicured. Mind you, Nurgle's all about his garden, isn't it? So
he does like his garden, doesn't he?
Garden Nurgle. Nice one.
There's some good picks this week. And up until Rich, again, no Space Marines.
I mean, obviously it's going to be a Space Marine, it's me.
I think didn't we have an episode recently? I don't think there was a one Space Marine photo in it.
Last one. It was really boring.
There was one right at the end, wasn't there?
Did it creep in?
That wasn't my fault.
It was in the cult paints one.
Oh, paint cult is fair play. Did you find any memes this week, Rich, or Andy, or anyone?
No.
Not ones we can put in.
Right. Fair enough. That's absolutely
fine. There was loads of memes. There was a shitload of memes. But none that we thought were appropriate.
Nothing decent. Fair play.
Positive memes only.
Right. Let's jump in then to the main topic for tonight. So we spoke around this, developed from a few things we wanted to discuss. First of all, we were just talking about artists that we hadn't seen anything from for a while, largely on social media. And then we got the news that Golden Demon US was definitely happening. The rules pack came out a couple of days ago. And we had a few well-known artists saying that they were going to go and they were going to attend and stuff. So we thought we'd take a look at some artists that we perhaps haven't seen work from in a while, that have previously won Slayer Swords and things like that, and then maybe haven't been to a GD for 10 years or whatever, talk about them and see if they are still around. And also the fact that, US Golden Demon is, say, 10 years, I think, since our last one.
20.
It's huge, right?
It's 10 next year. It's 9 at the moment.
Yeah, it's brilliant that it's coming back. Those guys, a huge amount of passionate hobbyists over in the States and North America and South America, actually. So it's nice that they don't have to fly all the way over to the UK or Europe to attend a high-end competition. Largely, I think it's going to be Matt and Andy taking us through quite a lot of this because Matt's obviously our Golden Demon savant, and Andy's outrageously competitive painter.
Got my countdown clock going.
Talk about his frenemies. So yeah, let's crack on. What's up first, Matt? What are we going to talk about?
So yeah, Golden Demon is coming back to the USA for, it was 2013. Memphis was the last one. Right. I think it was a part of a Games Day. It might have been the last Games Day as well that was there. So it's been a while. Sadly, we didn't obviously have it in 2020. little
anywhere
world situation.
Yeah.
Causing
or 21.
Or 21, yeah.
Oh, Christ, yeah, of course. So Maxime, the slide that's up on the screen at the moment, this actually is not to do with USGD. Is that right? This is more to do with someone we haven't seen for a while. Great.
Yeah. So just some random slides going in, so we have some pretty pictures to look at.
Gotcha. So it was actually Maxime was, I think, the catalyst for the discussion, right, and everything. So he did that amazing troll at GD 2019, UK GD, and then sort of we haven't seen much from him for a while, right?
No.
Any got the skinny? What's are we expecting to see more from him?
We don't know, but we miss him, and I think that's what we wanted to talk about. Is that sometimes you get people you love their work, and you want to see him back. What are you dusting there, mate?
Sorry, got a load of. Sorry, it doesn't matter. Didn't think that was in camera. Apologies.
I could hear it. He did that really impactful piece, the troll, and I think they were awarding a different style than perhaps they were before. It was pretty epic.
Was it? I wasn't at the comp that year. Did you all expect that was going to get the sword?
Well, I think a lot of people were talking about a handful of pieces like Rich's Mortarian, which got gold in the large category. So, and then you have Maxime got gold in the large fantasy category. But I can't remember the other pieces, but I think most people were talking about those two really.
And you had the usual suspects, did you? You had like Angelo was there, was he?
Yeah, Angelo won in single.
Was David there? David Soper?
Yeah, he won in the Heavy Metal Masters.
Yeah.
With whatever they call I can't remember the name of the tie caster.
Oh, where you all paint the same.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that he hasn't really painted too much since, and we'd like to see him back after doing such a monumental piece. Definitely one of my favourite Slayer Sword winners ever. So yeah, it'd be good. He won the Slayer Sword before, actually, with that. With a borderline scratch sculpted giant turning into a tree. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was unbelievable, and I think that was around 2013, wasn't it, Matt? And he had a break
around there. Yeah, he had he entered that, won the sword, and I think he had a pretty decent break after that.
So is he doing it again? But
Possibly.
You get these legendary pieces, and then sometimes these painters, you don't see them paint for a while, and I think that's sad. I think that we always want to see these people produce more pieces, but you just don't know what's happening with people.
Do you think do you reckon if they did produce more, that would take away from how different they are? So if you've got someone that drops in every few years and does like this epically different entry, do you reckon it takes that amount of time before you come up with an idea like that? Do you reckon it's possible to knock one of them out every year?
It's boring when the same people win and the same style piece wins the Slayer Sword. I think when it's so clear cut that they should win, of course, it's fine. But
when you say the same style, right? How do you mean? Do you mean as in literally the whatever's in vogue currently with the painting, or more? It's a single mini that's like this or whatever. Right?
I'm more like Dave Soper, probably the most winningest or Slayer. One of the most amount of Slayer Swords. Recently, probably one, really consistent, wins every time he enters, wins the sword pretty often. And that's a very perfect style, like technically flawless, just incredible. And for me, it was really exciting to see a less technically perfect paint job, but a more aesthetic, for me. It looks better, that troll. It's got more style, more feel. But you could compare it to other winners as not being as technically flawless. And I think it's better not technically perfect, you know.
And
so
do you think? I mean, what? I don't want to be disrespectful when I phrase this, but do you think there's an element of more maturity with the judging then for Golden Demon, if that's what you're going to start seeing? Because I believe it's a fairly settled team now. Is that right?
I don't know. I think there must be an element of going on feel, right? Because a lot of people are under the impression, and I've heard people talk about it, and you know, being like, "Oh, if they spot one mistake, you're kicked out. You're not allowed." And it's like, well, that can't be the case, because you can see mistakes on that troll, and it won the Slayer sword. So that's just not the case, is it? Like you can find a mistake on any miniature, I think. And they just all these, you know, things like that. There must have been a balance, but just the overall feel of that was just so good, then it must override it. And probably the same with like the Nagash in the chair and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just nice to see. And a lot of people say that the judges are closed off, that they only want heavy metal style, and that's just not the case, because you really are seeing a lot of stuff not heavy metal style winning.
That's only been in the last couple of years, though, hasn't it? Like, I know I'm not bashing anybody, but for a while there was everyone leaned into the heavy metal style at Golden Demons because they know that's what did well. But I think it's really interesting that now different styles are picking up different awards, especially things like Slayer swords is really interesting. It's quite a big statement from the judges that it is a case of it's the best painted piece that wins. It doesn't matter necessarily that you got two pieces. That's one that's the perfect heavy metal style and one that's not. And if the one that's not is classed as the better at the end of the day, that is a really interesting stance from the judges. And it's really good to see, I think, especially because it's opening up Games Workshop to the possibility of other styles of painting. Like, do you remember, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, you didn't ever see any damage on any official like heavy metal miniatures, whereas now nearly everything's got a bit of battle damage on it. If you could go back and tell us that'd be massive. That was the case.
Well,
it's nice to see it evolve.
Yeah, styles of painting is interesting, right? Because I think when painting really started taking off with the internet, right, you were able to see paint jobs from all the shows, even if you didn't get to them, etc., etc. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt and Andy, but you had a French style and a Spanish style were particularly prominent, weren't they, in sort of the late 2000s or mid to late 2000s?
A very different style.
It was very different, right? There was a very different color palette to what you were used to seeing and all that sort of thing. And quite a few of those artists that won Slayer swords and did very well in the Golden Demons back then, they've often disappeared, haven't they? But they've disappeared largely because they've painted other stuff, right? In Europe, they've got access to some of the historically biggest, most prestigious painting shows, right? And a few of them, you know, they still regularly compete at those shows.
Or they work for GW.
A lot of them now work for GW. Which again, I suppose is like Rich is saying, is where we're getting that influence coming through heavy metal, right? As they're bringing new painters, they're bringing established painters who are allowed to bring some of their style through. Because you can't just say heavy metal style anymore, I don't think.
No.
If anything, heavy metal style really just means almost the photograph style as much as anything, right?
It's definitely technically focused, the competition, and I think that's cool. But you do hear the same sort of Chinese whispers about what they're looking for, and like the funniest one being it's got to be the latest and greatest, and it's like, no, it's just people want to paint the latest and greatest because it's interesting, not the judges like. So yeah, you just get those things like that, I think, come up. But I think Rich summed it up really well. I think that they're good at picking the best miniature, and I don't think they're looking to fit their own criteria. I really trust them, actually. I think they make pretty good decisions on the whole. Sometimes they might have seen things we haven't, so you're like, I'm not sure on that. But generally, I find the judging to be pretty damn great.
It's also good.
Not that you're buttering them up or anything before you go out.
If you talk to them on the day as well when about the judging, then they give really good feedback, and they're always very honest about it. About what was difficult about deciding who was the winner, or why you didn't place, or why you got the award you did get, or whatever it might be. And just from that feedback I've had in the past, it really does seem like they go in on the day and it's okay, cool. What's the best thing that's here today? I really do think that there isn't like a big political plan. I don't think that there's like this.
No way.
Bit of drama's always good though, right?
Oh yeah, but I think I don't know. I think quite a few people that potentially thought that they should have won something and didn't use that as an excuse.
Absolutely.
To make themselves feel better.
Right?
Well, I want to try and stir things up a little bit later in the conversation anyway. So let's drop in the chat quickly. E1's saying he's watching while studying quantum physics and painting for a charity raffle. So, I mean, that's hard to top, really.
Oh,
fair play, mate. Brian asked an interesting question: whether we think the availability of different products such as oils, enamels, that type of thing, the much more mainstream availability of that now, whether that's having an impact on. Obviously, we're talking Golden Demon here, so Games Workshop stuff. Because we saw it come through the Forge World books with people like Phil Stachinskas, right? But you are right, Rich. It's fairly recent, right, where weathering is properly there, right? And I know they don't use oils and enamels in India, but I mean you can get some very similar effects with some of their mediums and things like their contrasts and their washes and whatnot. You can get, I say, not dissimilar effects just using your acrylics. Like that. So yeah, I wonder if that does have an impact on it. I'm sure it can't help but have an impact, right? And the fact that you've got 20 odd established paint ranges.
Well, the painters are developing, aren't they? The whole standard of paint. I think this is a really important when discussing American Golden Demon. It hasn't been for 10 years, and it's back, and the standard's gone up so much. And I think if the standard goes up, it will also diversify and things like that. And I think as everything changes and evolves, so does the judging with these comps. But it would be really interesting to compare this American Golden Demon to the previous ones. I think that it's going to be, just a total level up, because we gradually see it improve with the UK one because we get it every year. But we'll just see a massive jump in quality, I think, from the older American ones to this one. So,
yeah, I think with it as well, Golden Demon will have had to evolve because it wants to be the most prestigious painting competition in the world, which is, I think, definitely what it is to a lot of people. But to keep that mantle, I think it would always have to evolve. If it was to just stay the way it was back in the day, where if it had to be painted a certain way and you're only allowed to use certain paints, it wouldn't stay, as prestigious. So it's got to kind of roll with the times. But I think you're right, Andy, in that seeing what is going to be available or what's going to be on show, I think it's going to be really interesting. Like, I can't decide whether because it's been a 10-year break and because the way the world has been with COVID, because it's the first Golden Demon we've had in a while, potentially the first one, the only one we'll have for a long time. Do you think people that wouldn't necessarily make that trip are making that trip just to enter?
I was going to say that next, that I think this one will be different because there'll be far more Europeans at the American one. Looking at the previous Slayer Sword winners, it's mostly Americans, which is great. And I think that there'll be way more Europeans, especially if you look at just like Adepticon is the event it's at, and you look at the list of people teaching there. And you go, that's some interesting names. So you wonder which of these are entering the Golden.
Right. So let's get a bit juicy with this then. Who do we know that is entering? So yourself, Andy, obviously you're going over. You're really excited about it. You're currently charting your progress over on Patreon. People are absolutely frothing about it. Our friend Rich Gray is coming over as well, right? So you regular viewers of the channel, they know sort of Rich often helps us out with stuff.
Finish a model,
and well, I mean, he's been working on Not Skeletor for a while now, right? And what else has been on there? I feel like
fantastic things to pick from. Whichever he chooses to finish will be fantastic.
Won't it?
We don't know what it will be.
I feel like Rich has a certain style. I think it's very easy to identify a piece by Rich, and I think it's become quite synonymous with Golden Demon over the last 5 or 6 years, right? So I think it's exciting to see him. We've seen Matt. Am I right? We've seen Ben Comets and Max Sexwish confirm they're going.
So Matt said on his Facebook that he's going over and he's sorting something out. And I think Ben put a post out today saying, well, his tank was for 2020, his little rattling tank. So I imagine he's still bringing that.
Great. That's I mean, those two, that's really exciting to see those two at a GD.
You also have Banshees going because he's teaching there. So
right.
He might enter.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? It's like there's going to be a lot of people there for Adepticon, but who's entering? And this is what Rich was saying about. I do think more people are going to be prepared to go overseas than ever. And you imagine the old circuit, like certainly when I first started entering, I was just thinking about that yearly Golden Demon and nothing else. And then eventually I started traveling, and now I'll travel for any competition I really want to do. And I think, I think so many people are excited for American Golden Demon, and I'll be flying over with a lot of friends, I think. It will just be really highly attended, I think.
So going back to what you were saying quite diplomatically before, and I don't know that I'll be quite as diplomatic with it. I think there's been plenty of comments online, right, that there is perhaps a difference in the breadth of quality of high level entries in American painting competitions compared to European painting competitions, right? And I think it's largely understandable in that historically it's a very popular hobby over in Europe. We've got these very well established competitions, and you have dense population, of painters and all the rest of it. But certainly, when I think, and as a casual observer and as a fan of largely cool Games Workshop minis, but also cool minis in general, I can list off an awful lot of European names that I would have in my top 10, and not many American ones. So, do you think? Basically, if you're Americans in the chat here, if you're entering the stuff, how are you feeling about the Europeans coming over? I can assume it will only improve the competition, right? It will only increase the validity, the prestige, right, of that competition. You want the best paint, and I say breadth very carefully, right, because there has been, for a while in the UK we had mini Golden Demons, right, where they were a very tight subject. And they were often at events that weren't hugely attended. But even then, the stuff that won, a lot of the stuff that won, was still exceptionally well painted, right? There just wasn't that many of them. So very often you'd look at a category and go, oh, well, that'll win, that'll come second or whatever. Whereas you went to something like the main Golden Demon, and it was a lot harder to know, right? You would. Maybe there would be 5 that you think could be, or 10 that could be in running for the podium, or whatever like that. I wonder what we're going to see now in the States, because there's a few of these slides going past I'm seeing, particularly that orc on the trike, right? I remember that was just around when I came back in the hobby, I think.
Awesome.
And that's fantastic, right? It's quite a European style, right? It's quite Spanish French sort of styling. Would you say? Am I right or not?
I don't know. I think it's the quality and.
It's just very good, right? Like that would do well anywhere.
I think he's French Canadian, so there's half European there.
Oh, there we go. So I guess what I'm getting at is this. Yeah, how do you feel about this? It's historically, it's just going to say it. There aren't as many good painters over in the States as there are in Europe, right? Are we going to start seeing that change now?
I think it's
because of this, right?
It's a specific thing that they do differently, and I think there's a real reason for that. And I think, in general, right? We're speaking in general, not trying to cause any offense, but I think they're just as creative and they do amazing pieces, ideas. All that's the same. but that from my point of view, the big difference, and I've done a lot of American competitions, judged them, entered them, like I did Crystal Brush, and it's the technical side. So, they might come up with these amazing ideas, present them really well, they look really cool. And I would say, actually, when you look at like the tournaments, Americans have better displays of their armies.
Oh, absolutely. The army display boards is
better,
amazing, right? And there's far more, and it might just be a language thing, but there's far more American hobbyists on YouTube and stuff, right? And all that kind of thing. Sorry, carry on, but sorry, I didn't mean to.
But yeah, you're right. So you look at that, and I think the creativity is there, and the stuff they're doing. But I think the main difference is the technical level. So how sharp everything is, how perfectly blended. And I am guessing that comes from, we're lucky enough, all four of us have seen so many times real heavy metal stuff in our hands. And I remember going to Warhammer World for the first time, getting lucky enough to like pick up someone like Max's model in the hand, and it actually raises your standards just from looking at it, because I would compare my Edge highlights to those guys and go, God, I'm way off. But if you're over in another country and you're looking at the Games Workshop website, then you go, oh, well, they're just edge highlighting, they're just painting lines around every edge. That's not difficult. But when you see it in hand and how sharp it is, then you actually up your game. And I think that's the real difference, in my opinion, is the technical level. And I think we might see some very creative pieces. But you think of all those super clean painters like Gareth Nicholas, David Soper, those guys that are perfectly clean. And I think that comes from, we're lucky enough to get to see the high technical standard stuff all the time. So you might end up seeing a piece at Golden Demon America, and the most creative piece, like the biggest storytelling, might be from someone from America, but there might be someone from Europe who's painted to a much higher technical level, and it goes back around to what we were talking about before about what they'll choose. But I think that's the difference, I think, and why from America and Europe.
That's a really good answer, mate. I like that. There's a few people getting upset in the comments, and I think that's understandable given it's a competitive thing to talk about. I don't think we're being condescending at all. That certainly wasn't the intention. There are many fantastic painters from all over the world, and I think what we're trying to get at is that hopefully Games Workshop taking Golden Demon back to the States, showing that they give a fuck about it, and so many of the Europeans showing that they give enough of a fuck about it to travel over there, right? It's only a good thing, right? It's gonna drive the quantity of quality pieces up there.
Yeah,
it's going to drive that prestige up, and hopefully what it gets is more people going and looking at the miniatures, right? Going and attending. We're always saying, in many shows, that just because you don't think you'll win a painting competition doesn't mean you shouldn't enter it. It's part of being. It's all part of being a part of a great show, and it really does feel. Again, it's the first one we've had in however long now, but there's a lot of excitement, I think, around US Golden Demon, which is awesome. Someone else in the comments mentioned that there's a lot of high level painters, but maybe they simply can't afford to travel. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's the case all over. There's some fantastic painters down in Australia. One of my absolute favourites, Dave Colwell, but we don't see him ever, right, at competitions, and that's understandable. So you can only attend what you can attend, and you can only compete with the people that turn up. To turn up on it. Brett's saying there's a North American events team now, and he's on it. It's fantastic, right? Like again, it's not a sleeping giant by any means, but what I really hope is that the US GD is seen as
a premier,
good, right? As a real premier event, right? And I think it will be. And also, a bit of competition's good, right? It's fun to have a little bit of, oh, fucking Americans coming over here trying to win our competitions. Oh, the English coming over here trying to win our. It's good. It's healthy, right? We create a little bit of that. It's fun.
Team Spain used to come and destroy the UK.
Yeah, right.
Spanish team Memento.
The Swedes have been doing it fairly recently, right? Until they all ended up working for Games Workshop.
I think something that what am I trying to say? So what we also have to remember with American Golden Demon is we're looking at American Golden Demon of stuff that's 10 years old compared to stuff that's now.
Yeah.
Like, there hasn't been there for 10 years. It's going to look very different. And I have seen a few YouTube videos of people comparing, 2019 GD to 2013 US GD. You just can't.
No.
It's not really fair to do that. But,
it's also the hobby's evolved vastly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, Adepticon wasn't a multi-million-dollar enterprise, right? So you still had some very good painters, but it was still like miniatures painting. Games Workshop miniatures painting then was still quite quite geeky, quite niche, quite within a niche, right? Now we've got Instagram, we've got Warhammer community, we've got ignoring COVID, the ease of travel. You're right, Matt. It's an entirely different competition, right?
Yeah.
This is just basically the second GD, right?
It's super exciting. It's like you've got a break in American GD, you've got a break in Golden Demon in general, you've got a break in all painting competitions, and I think this could be the chance to make this a massive annual event, right? Like, I think this one will be really competitive because of no Golden Demon in UK, no Golden Demon in America for ages, no anything, all those things we keep saying. It's just going to be big. But I think what will happen is the standard will raise massively. And what I was trying to say before is every person that goes to that show, no matter their nationality, they'll look at the piece and then their level will raise because they'll look at higher standard stuff. And that's what helps. If you look at something at a high level in person, pictures don't count. If you look at something in person, your level will raise, and that's what will happen after this Golden Demon. Is everyone who looks at the models properly, competitors and non-competitors, they'll up their standard because it raises your expectations and what you compare it to. So it'll be really great for Golden Demon scene and the American scene. I think this is super, super positive for the hobby, having this event back.
It's also going to be a good one to win because it's possibly the only GD this year until UK one is announced or a European one, and it's the 35th year.
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's great to see some hashtag freedom, hashtag Independence Day type things going on in the comments now. That's a bit more like it, right? Don't just whinge. Come and fight back with it. If it makes any of you feel a bit better, what are some of your favourite state-based painters that you guys? Will Hahn,
yes,
really fantastic painter. I think we featured his stuff multiple times. Do we know of any of the Americans that we know that are attending? I mean, presumably anyone that considers themselves a competitive painter is going to be trying to get there. Which again, though, I do appreciate. America's fucking massive. It's easy for us to get to anywhere. It was easy for us to get to anywhere in Europe. Still not that easy to travel just within America, right?
No.
If you look at you all seen that meme where they put like an imprint of Texas and it's bigger than Europe,
right?
For us nipping to fucking the Netherlands or whatever is like an hour and a half, 2 hour flight. Or
45.
Nipping to Italy is 2 hours max on a plane. Whereas if you go 2 hours on a plane in Texas, you're still in fucking Texas.
Iced tea for the win. Yes, I appreciate that.
Oh, iced tea? No, that's blasphemous.
Mate, hell of a shock, right? Growing up, iced tea had always been Lipton, right? And it had been like peach or lemon or whatever. And I went over the States a few years ago to attend some events, actually. And went to a fantastic burger joint. I'm sorry, just let me get rid of one of these fucking Russian bullshit things in the chat. And I walked up with my bucket to the soda dispenser. Was like, fucking diabetes, let's go. And stuck it under the iced tea, and it was just iced tea. It was really fucking cold tea. It was disgusting.
I mean, I would one of them.
But anyway, that's a tangent. I love America. I can't wait to get back there. I'm going
next week, mate.
consider one of my very good friends is over there, and I miss there, and I was looking forward to going to Depticon as well. But anyway, back on track with it. So yeah, I think what we're saying there is it's very, very exciting. It's going to be great. I think we're going to look at it less as Americans having a golden demon and Europe having a golden demon, and there just being two golden demons a year, right? Which is awesome. Yeah. So yeah, exciting times. Any pieces that that are coming that you are particularly looking forward to? Any artists that are coming that you are really looking forward to see what they're doing? Any minis that have come out, say, in the last, let's just stick to 12, 18 months, that you're really hoping people give the beans to, like that troll that Maxime did, the Dankhold Trogoth. I think that was a really popular model anyway, but because it wasn't a single mini or something like that, I think it was awesome to see a larger model get the treatment, right? Who was it who did? Was it Ruben did with the giant and the griffin? Yeah, I think that slides on here actually, isn't it?
Yeah, let me go.
Again, a really cool kit, an iconic Warhammer kit, but quite plain, right? The giant. Yeah, well, actually, we've seen a bunch of them done amazingly for Golden Demon. So, any kits that have come out that you're looking forward to seeing people's takes on?
Bellicor, and particularly Rich Gray's, because he's got a very broody evil style, and I think that is a match made in heaven with Bellicor. And based on the whip, I'm like, yeah, that works so well. You've done such a good job. Little things like the non-metallic metal isn't like a bright, shiny non-metallic metal. It suits like that evil character, and sometimes you would I would struggle doing NMM in that way, but he gets it just right. So I think definitely the Bellicor kit, and already looking at Rich's. Yeah, I hope he finishes that.
I really want to see Kragnos.
Oh yeah,
I want to see some good. Basically, this for me, any the last year or so,
AOS Monster.
AOS Monster. If you're going to enter something into Golden Demon, it's got to be AOS Monster, because there's Kragnos, Bellicor, the Giant, Alariel,
Croak,
bunch
of chaos stuff.
It keeps going. Techless. It keeps going. So yeah, for me, that category, which I think in previous years has been a bit of an understated category. Sometimes I think you tend to go at 40k vehicle and things like that would be huge. I think that category this year is going to be massive. Between
19, it was massive though. Not 19, I think, because what came second behind Maxime was that unbelievable maggot slug with all the yellow dots.
Oh yeah.
And that could have won the sword as well, because that was mental, and he won gold in the single figure category. So insane. So that category was and then third was Chris Clayton, actually, with the same troll. So 2019 AOS Monster was a mental good category. I think you're right.
Yeah, any big AOS monsters I'm here for. I really want to see I want to see someone do something really, like you said about the old giant kit was quite plain, and someone went mental with it with the Griffin. I would quite like to see someone do something really inventive. I don't know what, but just I want to see someone do something really inventive with the new giant kit.
Oh mate, I built it last week. What a kit! What a kit!
Is it good?
Yeah. So
there was a duel between two giants. I think 2010.
That was Kennedy one.
No, it was I can't remember his name. But yeah, they're fighting. They're basically, one's landing a punch on the face and they're flying over the little outdoor toilet. Because when you had to have the 40mm base platform, that was all you were allowed. Yeah. I'd love to see a redo of that with the giants. That would be
There
cool.
was some truly inventive duels, weren't there, with that little base limitation.
That Carnifex against the Ultramarine was the best.
Just like that.
Or is it's great. The chat's coming up with loads actually, which is fantastic. As Sam Lentz should be there. Yeah, Sam's a great guy. We met him a few years ago. And don't get me wrong, please don't take this as we're not excited to see what's coming from the American painters. We absolutely are. This is all meant to be positive. Yeah. But I think it's important to address things like historically what's gone on with the competitions. Actually, someone asked in the chat about competitions. Meowing Cat is a level of competitiveness you don't understand with Golden Demon. Are there higher regarded painting events? It's not so much that there's higher regarded painting events, but there are some really significant painting competitions that are not Games Workshop, that aren't Golden Demon, that have been around for as long, if not longer, that have 10, 20, 30 times, probably more entrants to them. But I think we're going to talk about that on a show, but we'll also talk about this year. As the shows come back, we're going to be attending them and we're going to be talking about them. Matt and Andy are both going out. So hopefully we're going to get a bit of roving reporter footage from them and obviously we'll grill them when they come back, and hopefully Andy's coming back with an armful of trophies, and we can talk to him about it. But let's see what other people are wanting to see there. Bellacore, lots of people. Sidetrack saying the orc stuff has been very popular on Instagram with the American painters that they follow. The Americans fucking love the orcs, don't they? Like that's a fair point. And their last sword was the trike one.
I love that trike.
The Stormcast. I'd be interested in some Praetors. Titanicus, yes.
I think that's an interesting one. Do you reckon it's interesting to see what heresy stuff's out there? Is there a big heresy crowd in America?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, what's the deal with presumably there isn't a 30k category, is there? It's just no. But there's been some really nice of the Praetor models. Jay Dizzle was saying in the chat. There's been a few of those crackers have come out, and the Primarchs, of course. What have we had since the pandemic? Lion, Khan. Is it just them two?
Don't know, but the Lion's the best.
Sanguinius, was he out since the last?
He's been out for ages, I think.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so that could be cool.
And they're single figure category now, I think. So
right.
Big people.
Daniel's asking, and this is a good one. Asking in the chat, what's the practice that a lot of painters keep their models secret up until Golden Demon? Does this affect the judging? Andy and Matt, I think you're probably best placed to talk to us about this, because there are some competitions, right, where actually you aren't allowed to show your work and stuff. What's the deal with GD, first of all?
Matt, do you want to take lead?
Yeah.
I've got my opinion. I'll see what you say and fill in what you don't say.
There's no rules against it in GD, and is there rules in other painting comps for it? I'm not sure.
Was it Crystal Brush or something that you
Crystal Brush?
Yeah, couldn't have entered it or something like that.
Right. Didn't know that.
I think it's up to it should be the painter's choice, but I guess the question is, and I want to know your opinion, Matt, why do people keep it in secret? Does it affect it?
I think some people keep it secret because they want a big wow factor. Sort of, if you saturate your Instagram feed with, I painted this leg, then this knee, then this thing, it kind of really can bring it down. It gets very boring. And also, there have been copycat sort of stuff in the past. Someone's had a good idea and done it to a bit, and then other people have done something very similar, and it's just a bit of drama. But yeah, I mean, it's just up to the painter. I don't have a problem with it. I quite like seeing something that is going to blow your mind on the day.
I've got mine secret.
I think that's very fair, right? And there's a lot of, and Andy, I mean, you're obviously one of the most competitive or winningest painters. You're a competitive painter. There's a lot of fun, right, in that wow reveal moment, right? That's got to be a fairly large part of why you do it, right?
Yeah, I think, from a there's not tactics, but you've got to think, I wonder if it will affect the judge's decision. Say I post my entry now, because I have photos of it. Will they be like, oh, that's cool? And then on the day, that's the one I saw a month ago. I'm not saying they do, but what if they do? Because I know when I've judged competitions, I've seen a lot of pieces, and you just try and be as objective as possible, and you compare two and go, I think that's better because of these technical reasons. But it could also help, because what if they've seen something they really like and they've studied it and they know really good bits. Like say there's a secret bit on your diorama that's hard to see, and you post a picture of it, and they've seen it, and they go, "Oh, this is really cool because it's got this teeny detail," and they might miss it in the judging. So it could be either way. I don't know what the answer is. I've got a few entries, and some I haven't shown at all, and some I have. But I think from my point of view as entering, I would rather them all be secret, because it's nice on the day for people to go, "Wow, look at that," and it's nice. And I have done that before, and it's exciting in the build-up, I think, for people not to know. And it's been also fun when people are like, "This is definitely going to win. This has got it in the bag," and you're like, "Well, you haven't seen everything," and then something just shows up. I think Lan kept the Nagash in the chair completely secret, didn't he? I'm sure he did. I always cite that piece because in my head, that's a really important piece. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he kept that completely secret, and it's just this massive chair was just sat in Golden Demon. Everyone's like, "That's gonna win." Like no one's seen any pictures of it on it, any picture at all, and then you just see Nagash on his throne. It's like this tall. Yeah, that's gonna win the sword. That's cool. Like it's way more fun if you're at the event as well, if you haven't seen some stuff. So I think a mix, like Ben Comets is on the screen now. He's shown this piece because I believe this was for 2020 Demon. But I imagine that he's probably got some stuff in secret too, and I think that's quite nice. Like, I've shown some stuff and kept some stuff behind, and it'd be more fun for on the day to show it. But I don't think there's like a horrible sort of tactical reason behind it. I think it's just quite a bit of fun, and it's quite exciting for me as well. Like, what you know what you're up against. I don't want to know what I'm up against.
I think
and that's something. Sorry, Matt.
I was going to say, I think some people have it in their mind that there's a tactical reason for doing it, and that's why they do it, but there's not really.
But it's also worth saying, isn't it, with Golden Demon, it is a simple 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze in each category.
It's nasty, mate.
So it's which bothers me, and that's why when we've run painting competitions, we haven't done it in that format. Like, it's not a sprint. It's not that you've turned up and trained harder and done whatever and run faster on the day. But that must be quite exciting and quite nerve-wracking, right? Like you're saying, Andy, especially when there's certain names, right, that are attending. It's exciting. Like, as a casual observer, I'm a massive supporter of painting competitions, right? Just because I don't competitively paint doesn't mean I don't think they're awesome. And I want to get that competitive. I want us to have a little bit of scuttlebutt in the community. I want there to be some rivalries. I want that kind of those narratives. It's exciting to follow, especially because we're exposed to the work so much now. It's not people just talking about a miniature that you've never seen and you've no idea about. If you love your painting and you follow Instagram, Twitter, wherever, the chances are you've seen these pieces. You know that what people are referencing, right? And I think it's great fun to go, "Oh, do you think this one's better than that one?" Or do you think this one will beat that one? And hopefully, not only is it fun, but if you're wanting to get into it, you can start to glean tips and tricks, shall we call it? Because presumably there's, and this is a whole other show, but you can choose the wrong piece, right? You can paint it incredibly, but if you've chosen the wrong piece to enter, then it's you've sort of set yourself up to fail with it, right? So on that note, are there any pieces that that are coming, either of you, that you are particularly excited about seeing in the flesh and you think may do very well?
I'm very excited for the Ben Comet's rattling tank.
Yeah,
because I was following that on his Patreon when he was making it, and I was sort of waiting for 2020 to happen, and then it didn't happen, and I was really sad.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, Ben and Matt, sort of privately, Matt said to me what he's doing, and it's very exciting. And I won't say because it's his business, but it's really cool. And it's going to be the same category as me, and I think probably going to be better than mine, but it doesn't affect my choice to do that category or my enthusiasm for the project. But you are going into it going, okay, that's probably going to beat me. That's fine.
So going off the names that we know are going, and given that what their body of work has been over the last 2 years now since we had the last one, you got any favourites? Who do you think's coming into the competition quite strong? Like for me, if Dave Colwell was going, I'd be thinking he's set up well, because I feel like Dave's output has been not only huge for the last 2 years, it's also been noticeably better and better and better and better. There was who's that London-based painter? He's a European London-based painter. A couple of years ago, came on the scene, started some really quite amazing stuff. Damn it. Anyway, any ones that you two think are particularly sort of sticking their hands up
to win, or just
to sit for winning?
Gosh,
I think there's a lot of people travelling over, which I think have very high probability. I think I'll say that. I don't want to say.
Get off the fence. Come on.
What about David Aroba? David Aroba, I'm going to say.
Right, nice.
His Kragnos looks insane.
It's a shame. Shame about his Sigma thing, and that's not going to be there.
Yeah, but I'm going to say. But the thing is, you don't know if they're going. But yeah, David Aroba.
From what we know, that's who your £1 going on. Yeah.
I'd love to see him enter. And I think his Kragnos is amazing. He's done an amazing Lord of the Rings piece, Gandalf on a horse. That was bonkers. That's so good. I'd like to see him in. I'd like to see Rodrigo Acor enter. I think a lot of fans of his out there for sure. It'd be cool to see him in some stuff. So,
nice. Anyway. Go on then, Matt. Andy's picked one. Who are you having? Who are you tipping? Who are you tipping for the sword?
For the sword?
Yeah, come on. I know, going on the information you have.
So obviously I know Matt Sexwish is going, and he's won some pretty high, and his pieces in the past. Obviously, he's done the Da Vinci thing, the marionette thing, the two sides of a tale.
Not seen a huge amount from Matt though over the last.
No. So
months, right?
That's because he's been spending it on one entry, Matt.
Exactly. So I'll go with him, Matt.
Right. Excellent. Like it. Rich, what about you? The layman's answer.
Rich Gray, I'd always put a £5 on him winning Summit.
Nice. So we'll come back next week for your next hot tip.
And also, I'd like to point out at this point that is not me. For the 1,000th time, I am not Rich Gray.
Oh yeah, this isn't Rich Gray. But you did actually call when Rich won his first sword. You called it very early on the day.
I have quite a good history of doing that. Just walking in, looking at it, and going,
"It's going to win, man!"
And then getting absolutely shit faced.
We'll have to put a poll up online or something. Put some names down.
I like it. Well, let us know in the chat if you've got any that you're particularly keen on. Was there anything else you guys wanted to mention about people we miss from painting and or US Golden Demon? What are we calling it? Is it US Golden Demon? Is that the name of it?
I think it's just Golden Demon.
Golden Demon because it's Golden Demon UK, right? Or is it Golden Demon Classic?
Golden Demon USA has got a nice ring to it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what it's getting called. Great. Do you want to add anything, boys, before we move on?
I'm good. I can't wait for it. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait to cover more. Can't wait to cover it at the time. Big old chats discussion. It's going to be awesome.
Remember?
Wow, it'd be great to go back to these
67 days.
Matt's got his clock on, hasn't he?
Don't remind me.
That's awesome. And guys, if any of you are attending in the chat, you make sure you go and say hello to Andy and Matt, and just go. If you go into the event, go and look at the miniatures. It's unreal seeing this stuff in the flesh. It's incomparable with seeing it on photos.
That was kind of the point earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you made it much more eloquently. Like it really is. And I think the hobby's exploded the last 10 years, no doubt. and I would say probably America has exploded the most, right? That we've got things like Adepticon, right? They have led the way with so much of what the hobby now is, the way it's presented, the attitude towards it, the events, all of that has been, championed over in the States. And they've done it. They were on their own. They made their own painting competition with hookers and whatever. So whatever the phrase is. So Blackjack. I think it's fantastic. Blackjack and hookers. I think it's amazing. It's getting recognised. And it's very, very exciting. And we will obviously cover the results in a show, absolutely. But keep an eye out for our roving reporters, Andy and Matt, when they're over there. So let's close out with the last segment, I think. So as usual, it's time for hashtag Paint Cultist. So we created a hashtag to go along with the show. It's predominantly on Instagram, hashtag Paint Cultist. It's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cool models on there. If you want to add a bit of variety to your Instagram feed, maybe some different styles or some different systems that maybe you don't often see, larger scales, whatever, bang that hashtag in, give it a follow. There's some wicked stuff on there. All I do each show is I go through, grab a handful that jump out to me as I'm scrolling through them, and just share them with the guys. So what have we got up first, Matt? I can never remember what I picked. There's so many good ones. Nice. Black Chaos Warrior, right? Sometimes classics are just right.
Is this the new one? The new
mini? This kit is, I've got, I was looking at it the other day over on the shelf, so I was beating myself up about something, and it is such a good reimagining of a classic kit, like we were talking about with the Eldar and stuff. This Chaos Warrior thing is beautiful, and black and red and the snow base, it's just lovely.
The head's really well, the 7 head's really well painted as well.
It's it's just a really cool mini. Everything about it ticks my boxes. That one for Warhammer.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
What's up next?
It's lovely.
So look at the fish.
Oh yeah.
So I don't normally.
This is a whip, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't normally put whips up on here, but I feel like, just like your little cottage at the top of the show, I feel like this deserves being shown, because it's just a lovely bit of hobbying, right?
That skeleton's so nice.
It's just it's just lovely, and I really like that people are doing more display stuff. Going to town with the plinths, and this is still a plinth, right? It just happens to be half acrylic. It's just really, really cool.
Pine bark for the win.
Yeah.
It's always I always find
and
people
the snail.
I always find people very brave that do a clear resin pour over painted stuff.
Mate, I've got one to do, and it's not even funny how much I'm thinking about. It's going to have the models in it. I've never done that before.
It's too much for my heart.
I've just spotted now it's on the larger screen in front of me. Perhaps it is finished. Is the snail the miniature? Is it just a huge scenic base? Because I respect that even more now.
It's going to have the massive cat on it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? The He-Man, not He-Man cat. Lovely stuff. Good account. Well worth a follow. As are they all. What's up next, Matt? I think I've got 7 this week, maybe. This I really liked. I really like glossy nids.
Yeah, mate.
I think it worked. We had one a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember that the person had done like the sort of Yoo-hoo gore effects or something? Just really, and I reckon they look excellent as armies.
I love Tyranids
to play with. A sort of a little back on their head, like, if they get their update this year. That was my 2nd edition army was Nids.
I had an army, believe it or not.
So, God, 2nd edition at 11 years old, I had 2 painted armies. Unbelievable. What happened? But just really cool. And I really like the take on the heads as well. I've not seen it before. It's not war paint, but you know what I mean. Like,
markings.
Yeah. Just very cool. Made me wanted to paint some aliens.
That makes me want to paint Nids. I
love a shot that's just on a nice bit of old wood.
No.
Because it's like, it's not, I mean, no one will ever compete with MiGs when it comes to the hipster wooden bureau models, right? You can't compete with MiGs, but I do love a bit
bird skull
like this. You know,
It's very.
we should talk about picture backgrounds actually at some point.
we should.
It's very
quite a
sort of
variety out
secondary school science block desk.
Yeah, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's got Bazza was here scraped
Yeah.
somewhere.
Bunsen burner marks and all.
Yeah, nice.
I really
Yeah,
want
very
to play
cool.
against Nids actually. Like,
Yeah, I want to play against a tide of them, like 200 of them. Like,
Yeah.
with old school flamer templates.
I think didn't they do like a White Dwarf game where it was endless hordes of Nids that you could just like you were a kill team or whatever in the middle and they just keep coming.
I think
Like,
it was
having
survive
fun.
to like turn 4 or something.
All right.
Like the old
But yeah.
tank battles they did at Games Day.
Oh, because I keep forgetting it's not Games Day at Adepticon, is it? It's just Golden Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Adepticon, which is a same event, but it's not their event, right? They're
Yeah.
GW there just for that. It's quite interesting.
It's a smart thing to do. Minimal like money expenditure for maximum returns.
You're right there. I didn't think about that for a second.
I'm just thinking, like my favourite, obviously Golden Demon's awesome, but my favourite thing about Games Days, hands down, are the silly displays that they do. Yeah, be awesome. Anyway, yeah, wicked Nids. What's a bit of BattleTech? Had to sling this in. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of the BattleTech universe. I'm also a massive fan of little scale models. This is about 10 mil ish. Yeah, it's just cute. I love it. I love the idea of you just sit down and paint one of these in a session. The game's good fun as well, just not the Hex version of it, in my opinion. But yeah, I've got actually a friend of mine just today sent me some BattleTech for a late birthday present, so I cannot wait to get that in the post, and I will be chucking up some videos on that very, very soon. But yeah, I got to sneak BattleTech in because it's awesome.
So,
And what else we got there?
next up.
So I wanted to stick this one in, kind of like your cottage and the little scene from before. Little scenery pieces can be a brilliant painting project, right? And they don't have to be like these amazingly detailed ones that GW are coming out with and all the rest of it, right? They could just be this big thing.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Rich because Rich's dream this week is he does scenery.
Fuck off, my dream. I did it.
I thought it was
dream.
Kill Team.
It's completed.
Oh, I love scenery, mate.
I did it. Fuck you. I did it in a month, prick.
Show him the big box.
What have we got?
Look, scenery done. Get fucked.
Good work, mate. We should like celebrate, Rich. So you're smashing through stuff, and you've been on the same thing now for all of January.
Exactly.
So
It's like your
good on
January.
you, mate. Yeah, good on you.
Thank
just
you, Henry
realised
and Matt. Fuck you, Andy.
I've just missed a few things in the chat. Hopefully, James Wapple will go for GD. Yeah, that would be really cool. He has a very unique style. I like Jim Wapple's stuff a lot. I would have loved to have gone to one of his classes if I could ever get over there. Certainly, I'd put him right up there with like Roman and stuff. People I'd love to learn from. Vince, love to see Vince in the chat. I'm sure he'll be attending.
Oh yeah.
I wonder
What
if we'll
else we got
see
there?
some of the really old school GD US people like Todd Swanson and Chris Bora and stuff.
I heard he was. I heard a rumor he's
Yeah.
coming. And Eric Swinson, he's another great painter. Get confused because they're similar name. But yeah, I heard that he was coming back.
Should be
Amazing.
nice.
Exciting. Well, if you do see them, then make sure you have a natter with them. Does anybody know if Dave Soper's still working on his Nurgle Predator? Yeah, I believe he is. I believe so. I don't believe Dave's going to Adepticon though.
Well, that's it. What if he turns up?
I know, can you imagine? Love it. Love it.
That'd be cool.
Having met David a few times, he's a lovely guy. But I kind of wish he was a bit more bling. I kind of wish he'd roll into Adepticon GD or whatever, fur.
The king is here.
Rocks. Yeah,
Five people to carry his 5 swords.
Yeah, right. Actually have little
Sword bearers.
sword
Yeah.
servitors and things. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like Asriel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, do it in hood.
he
He could
deserves
have
it.
He could have his real life little sword polisher dude.
Yeah,
yeah, thinking more like Tyson Fury going into a boxing match rather than David Soper turning up at.
That's what we need. That's the energy
we need some
music.
personalities.
Stop being nice. And same with Robin McLeod. Too polite. Yeah.
I want someone to, when they go up to like accept their sword, to like
give
someone in the audience, someone in the audience to pull out speakers and like give a speech and be like, "I knew I was going to win. You all suck."
or someone call them out. Like, I'll fucking have you at Golden Demon Classic. You and me.
Yeah, bring
you
it.
and me.
Let's
Golden
go.
Demon Classic. Let's fucking go. Hold me back.
We're all too nice. We need to channel a bit more of like the gamer community in our competition painting and be like, boom, I won. Fuck you.
I mean, really, it's just going to be a room full of people who won't talk to each other, but there'll still be amazing miniatures on display. So, but back to this cool little rock.
It's really good.
I just really like I think it's a great, like, they've nailed the effect. Absolutely nailed the effect. Scenery, if you're a gamer, like, you use scenery every game. You know, you've got 10 armies or whatever. But, you know, you'll use scenery most games, right? And there's a lot to be fun. But I like the fact that this looks very homemade, right? This looks like styrofoam on a bit of flock, and then it's just painted really cool. So yeah, it's got just
had a nice Chaos Warrior in front of it, doesn't it?
It does, right? It's got that old Herdstone vibes, like old Beast of Chaos Herdstone vibes or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can we pitch this idea for the Canadian Golden Demon, the politest Golden Demon there'd ever be, right?
They would apologise for winning. Sorry you didn't win. Sorry.
Yeah, lots of beer there, though. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's true. And I think is there one more, Matt?
Oh, wow.
Critter-tastic.
That fox is cuter than the Dark Reapers.
So this account, they were saying, I didn't read all of it. I think they weren't feeling too hot about themselves or whatever with their painting recently, and I was like, gosh, I'd be, and it just goes to show, doesn't it? Like, I'd be over the moon if I was producing something like this. You know, but that to them isn't. They're just not. It's not jiving with them and stuff. But I love the mushrooms on it. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's not a piece I would ever buy, and it's not a piece I would ever paint. And it's not really something that I would go out of my way to look at as a painted thing, which I guess in a way is why the hashtag's really nice. Because ultimately, it's just really well done.
Looks very Spiderwick Chronicles-esque.
Right. Oh, there's a little mouse in the foreground as well. I've just seen, look, his big old ears looking at the... But yeah, but it always blows my mind just how many minis there are out there. Like, miniature painting is an awful lot more than just painting Space Marines, you know? It's... There's something for everyone. Hey, whether it should be, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I like it.
But yeah, I think that is everything, isn't it, Matt?
Right, there's one more.
Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, sorry, because I stuck this one in. I only found it recently. We've featured this count a couple of times before. Again, I love originality in miniatures painting. You don't see it that much now because there's so much out there, and everyone's painting Space Marines. But what a brilliant bit of artwork, right? What just an imaginative, weird, just fun thing.
It's really bold,
amazing
choices. I wouldn't be brave enough to do that. And
gold leaf backdrop.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
Explain that to someone. I'm going to paint a bust and I'm going to stick it to a gold leaf backdrop, but like on its side.
And it's going to work.
Yeah, but it's going to look sick. You're like, all right.
Yeah, even the yellow on the chin and the hood's obviously casting a shadow. Like, there's some really bold choices there. Yellow and turquoise is an epic combo. Yeah, that's very interesting. This was my point earlier about like ideas and creativity and stuff like that, and not being negative at all about it. Just there's some differences between regions, and it might not be the creative stuff's all there, right?
Absolutely, and it's only getting better, right? Can't wait to see some of this stuff at shows. I really can't. So, anything to add, chaps, or is that enough? Enough. Excellent. Well, all the chat, they're still going in there. Thanks ever so much for joining us, chat. It's been really, I think this is the most concurrent viewers we've had, which is really lovely, like well over 100 the whole time. you know, we're going to try and keep this regular, keep these things coming. So we will see you again in a couple of weeks with it. If you want to get in touch with us, we've got all the usual social media things, emails, all the rest of it. It's not difficult. So if you want to talk about something, or you want us to talk about something, whatever like that, just get in touch with us. So yeah, chat. Big thanks for watching it. If you're watching this back later on YouTube, thank you for watching. All the usual stuff applies: like, subscribe, share, all that. And then lastly, Matt, Andy, Rich, thanks as usual. Always perks me up, these shows. Always gets me jonesing to do a bit of painting. And I think it was a fun one tonight. I think it was some interesting topics, and certainly not the last time we're going to talk about Golden Demon USA, and hopefully painting competitions in general this year. We'll certainly make sure we'll do it. And again, if you're going to Adepticon, make sure you say hello to Matt and Andy. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.